So, Fred, I'm very fortunate to have been a professor in Strathmore for 12 years. I have supervised students who are MPs who do research on national CDF. And the research we did found out that CDF has got structural weaknesses that leaves the populace at the mercy of the MP, which is what we are saying we don't want. So we should have Kenyans with guaranteed rights irrespective of who sits in those things. Like now, as a scholar, I'm an academic. Fred, do you know why different constituencies perform differently regarding CDF? Mm-hmm. It's because the performance depends on who is the MP. My brother here, Honorable Manduku, could be doing very well because maybe he's an honest man. And my brother Gakuya could be doing well because he's an honest man. But generally, how many MPs are honest in Kenya? How can we leave the citizens at the mercy of the MP? If they get a thief, it's done. Majority, most of the MPs in parliament are corrupt, incompetent, isn't it? I don't mean well for citizens, and that's what is happening there. If you go to Infotech Harris survey, you can find the results there, obviously. People report on parliament performance, they're there. Some of them have never even spoken in parliament forever. Some of them only are there just to vote when it comes to voting, but they never talk anything. So as far as I'm concerned, this fundamental problem is the structural weaknesses of the governance of the CDF and any other bursary funds, because the sitting speaker, Honorable Moses Wetangula, when the question on this CDF came, he said that MPs are village ATMs. Village ATMs. So they need this money to dispense cash. And I'm quoting him word by word, and Fred, you have record of this. Because I'm an economist, I'm a scholar, I'm an academic, I have nothing biased against anybody. Those are facts, they know it. They were in parliament when he said it. So if this money is an ATM for my MPs, then it should be changed from being an ATM actually to be a fund to enhance education. Which means that the current setup means that the MP can use this fund the way he wants. Do you know why many MPs of parliament return to parliament in this current parliament as opposed to the previous one? It's because they are CDF. So newcomers who have no CDF could not beat them because they have some financial muscle. For you, depending on your personal money, for them they're using CDF. And this is what has been seen across the board. So I can quote here Honorable Tibo Siri, who is the National Treasurer for ODM. It is my student in Strathmore. He came with research. When he came to propose this research, my fellow lecturer said, there is no need of researching on this. And he brought very brilliant views. In fact, the paper has been already been concluded. Research is very clear that we have to find a lot of public participation. The other thing is that CDF and even bursaries should be part of Public Finance Act to be exposed to the rigor of the auditing process like any other fund, because many funds are not run by MPs. MPs don't want it to be under Public Finance Act so that they can have the rigor and actually expand on how, even when you're saying that, for example, talk about Bosibori, why should Bosibori take, but not, for example, another person, isn't it? You mentioned all of them were ladies, isn't it? So even to focus on men, joking, sure, just it's a girls' school. I'm trying to say there should be a criteria where it's very clear. I like what Babu Owino did in his constituency in Bakassi East. Babu Owino made this public, isn't it? People came for public before we went for Christmas. It was clear who qualified, which numbers were there. The report of the names were there, so I can upload it. Maybe people need to follow that direction. Maybe it was PR, I don't know, but I'm saying at least we could see that he was doing something like this. So according to me, Fred, why should the right of people depend on who is in power? That's the problem. A right should be a right irrespective of who is in power. And we need all constituencies perform. For example, go, for example, to other constituencies. Classrooms are there. There's tiles on the carpet, isn't it, on the floor. They have electricity. Go to my constituency in Ogenya. You cannot see, even when they are doing these election halls, they carry lantern lamps in almost all primary schools and secondary schools. How can a secondary school not have electricity? Okay. And I can tell you, Fred, let me just put it clearly. And I like the fact you mentioned governance. Governors are the #1 stamping block for a development in Kenya, and I'm not even trying to mention this to put on the president. Fred, take every county as a startup, isn't it? Every county receives 10 billion on average per year from the national government, isn't it? Now, can you tell me a county, for example, like Kisumu, which has received 240 billion shillings since devolution began as a startup capital? Do you know any company in Kenya with a startup capital of 240 billion? And yet they are generating nothing. They still want more money from national government. MPs have been receiving this money to develop their constituencies and counties. Why are we not seeing a growth in revenue collection on revenue from the counties? Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that putting Kenyans at the mercy of the leaders we elect is the problem. Mm-hmm. We compare with the countries like US and Germany. You are right, whether you voted West or you voted East,
right.
North or South. So according to me, the number one problem is that we're having incompetent MPs at the moment, and then secondly, they're also corrupt. Yes. And by extension, citizens just get poor services.
And the story is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Even as schools open for the first term of 2025, an audit report has revealed that millions of bursary cash meant for needy learners could be ending up in the pockets of a few corrupt officers and MPs. Quite unfortunate there. The story is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Let's take a break.